Today's November 10th. There are 6 weeks until Christmas, and I have a lot of knitting to get done. Last year, I didn't start my gift knitting until December 1st, and technically everything got done, but it was definitely close. It was so close, in fact, that I hadn't really considered blocking time, and on Christmas morning, my dad ended up opening a somewhat damp scarf. So the point of this video is I have already started. However, I'm starting to get a little bit nervous, and the goal is to avoid a damp scarf situation. So the first Christmas gift that I cast on this year was the DRK Everyday Sock, and this is the sock for my dad. So this is taking a very long time because I am doing it in the largest size fingering weight yarn, but it's looking pretty good. I'm getting close-ish to the place where in a toe-up sock I need to start doing the gusset. But I'm really happy with this so far. This one, I'm glad that I cast it on early because I think this is just going to be my mindless knit. It's 2x2 rib, so I can just grab it when I need something super easy and brain off knitting. And I've really been enjoying having this on the needles for that. And hopefully it doesn't turn into too much of a time crunch. The yarn for this, by the way, is Songbird Fibers. They are a local to me hand dyer that does yarn based on birds. So this is their chickadee colorway, and I'm really enjoying it so far. And I do think that project is probably like a quarter done at this point. The next one I cast on is the Leafy Baby Blanket, which is a free pattern by Leila Alieva. There's so many projects for this on Ravelry, and a lot of them have like really good notes with tips for for modifications, so I'm loving that. Now I am knitting this in Berocco Vintage, which is a worsted weight yarn in the color Douglas Fir, and it's some kind of like acrylic and wool blend. And I have finished the first skein of it. It's approximately 30 inches across, and I'm thinking that a good length for this would be to have it be a square, so 30 inches. I'm very happy with this so far, and I think it's just gorgeous. Hopefully the light is catching it in a nice way because it is kind of a dark yarn, but I'm just loving like the forest vibes of this yarn and how that interacts with the leaf pattern. So I was a little bit nervous about this when it was like, I think when I filmed my last podcast episode, this was like an inch long, and I was getting really worried. But now that it looks more like a blanket, I'm feeling a lot better about it. I know that people on Ravelry said that it's like a chart that you don't have to reference a ton. Personally, I am so bad at memorizing charts. Cables or lace, doesn't matter. I have not been able to memorize this, but now that I'm again a whole skein into the yarn, I'm close to having it memorized, I would say. I'm definitely not referencing it as much. So definitely not a mindless knit, but a pretty enjoyable one. Okay, last thing I'm going to show you is the one that I frogged this morning. So I actually don't have anything to show you, but well, maybe I'll show you the yarn ramen. Here's what I frogged. So this is actually the leftover yarn from the baby bear balaclavas. I forgot to mention in my knitting podcast where I showed those, they use very little yarn. I had bought, so it says on the pattern that it uses 1 ball of merino and 1 ball of mohair. I don't include the mohair on the face band of the balaclava or the neck, which means it uses very, very little mohair. In the future, I would probably just use like scraps from other projects. So basically, by the time that I'd finished both of those, one of them is a 6 to 12 month size, and the other is a 2 to 4 year old size. I was still on the first ball of mohair and it had only just started the second ball of merino. So based on that, I decided I really wanted to use the leftovers for something else. And the pattern that I have picked for all of this is from the book Arctic Knits, which is the designer behind Saskia & Co. When she came out with this book, she was still known as the Petite Knitter, so it was before she rebranded. But the pattern I've picked for those leftovers is the Pingo mittens. And this looks just perfect for a kind of scrappy project. So I'm really excited about it being DK weight, fingering plus a mohair. It should be a really quick one. And I do have yarn on the way for the second color in this. The reason that I frogged it is that this does come in 3 sizes, small, medium, large. But it doesn't really mention like if one of them's for kids, if one of them's for teenagers, adults. So I just picked the middle size at first. And by the time I got like halfway through the cuff, I realized it was still pretty big. So I am going to cast on again with the smallest size. But again, that is the Pingo mittens. So where that leaves us is that of the 6 projects I have considered priority, I have started 3 of them, let's say 3 of them, and I now have 6 weeks to finish all of them. Okay, hopefully you're enjoying watching me lose my mind over how much I still have to do on this list. So I thought that I'd go over with you the yarn that I just got and which of these projects it goes with. So the first and pretty interesting one is, if you watched my last project journal, it was all about sock knitting in Socktober. And one of my favorite yarns from that video was the West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply, so I was really happy to order more. This is for the kitten catch mittens, which are a fingering weight mitten. So I figured that it would be good to get some sock yarn, and since it won't use a ton of yarn, I'll just be able to use leftovers for socks. And these are nice neutral colors. So this one is in the color Licorice. This one is in the color Poppy Seed. and this one is in Dusty Miller. And actually, when I ordered this, I was thinking that I would do maybe these two together for the mittens, but now that I'm looking at them, I think this one is actually darker than it looked online. Actually, I think they're both of these grays are darker than they looked. So like maybe that would be high enough contrast. But I also have this one, and I actually just had to pull this out of a project bag because I'm planning to put it into the Pingo mittens. But I think this is actually an interesting comparison if you're interested in this yarn, because this is the color Marshmallow, and I got it thinking that it would be like a nice off-white to use for socks. It's just white. It's very white. So I actually think that this as like black and white with really high contrast would be really nice. So that's Marshmallow and Licorice. But then I also think those two would be like slightly less contrast and really nice. This might not be enough contrast for me, so I might just leave this one out and use that one for socks someday. So I'm thinking probably these two in the kitten catch mittens, and then I pulled my iPad out so that I could like double check yarn quantities here. So this one is 180-ish of each, 150 of the other one. So that would be like less than half of each of these. So that's good. And then I also want to check on the Pingo mitts, which I've just started, because if I am going to use that Marshmallow color, I want to make sure I have enough for both projects. Oh yeah, that's barely anything. So, is that even right? Yeah, I guess so, because it's DK. So for Pingo, it's actually 50 meters of each, because I'm holding it with a mohair and doing the smallest size. Okay, so that's actually really good news. That means I can definitely use this for both of those projects. And then that will be a contrast color for maybe 2 more projects. But I'm gonna set these 3 aside for gift knit purposes. And then actually this Filcolonatilia is what I got to go with that Marshmallow color in the colorwork mittens. So excited about that. I've actually never used Tilia before, so I'm excited to see how it compares. I'm not a huge like mohair person. Actually feels quite soft. Like by feel, I would compare this to the Isayer one, but we'll see. Okay, and then the last yarn that I got in that order was Berocco Vintage. So I got 4 of this color. Luckily, I'm almost done with that baby blanket now. You'll see that in the next update. Do they put the color name on here? It says Calico. That doesn't sound right though. It might be right. Okay, so this is kind of like a nice heathered teal color, I would say. And this is going to be a baby blanket for my niece once I have finished with the one for her brother. And the pattern I'm thinking of for this is this is kind of a change of plans, but this is the Mini Augustins number 5. I saw you know that line from Mean Girls that's like, I saw Gretchen Wieners wearing this, so I wore this. I could say the same thing for, I saw Knitting Traditions knitting something for her kids, so now I'm knitting something for my niece. So she was working on the Mini Augustins number 5. I think she's maybe already made one too. And I just thought it was a really neat blanket. So I'm going to do this using Berocco Vintage. And I do just want to check the yarn quantities because I'm not actually going to end up using all that much yarn for the one for her brother, which was a totally different pattern, but the same yarn. So I want to double check. It does say 400 grams of worsted weight. So this should be like exactly right, but I'm just going to take a quick peek at the projects and see how much other people are using. Okay, because knitting for olive heavy merino should be a pretty similar weight to this. And it looks to me like people who used that are only using like 300 grams. So I might get away with only 3 of these and having an extra one, which is actually the same thing that happened for the leafy baby blanket. So I'm likely gonna have like a couple extra skeins, and these colors don't look bad together. So I'll have to think about what I could do with that. Okay, and then this one I actually got in this order as well. So this is the same color that I'm using for that leafy baby blanket. And this one I ordered because I knew I would end up having extra of this color. Yeah, so I've got this entire cake left over. I'm just finishing up the border on that blanket now, so I'm pretty confident in this. So I've got 200 grams left at this point. And what I'm curious about is if I use that, I'm really excited about this plan. If I use that for the Alvar dog sweater for Maggie, how much of it do I actually need? Also, I'm loving the idea that Maggie could have a sweater that matches with my nephew's blanket. That would be so cute. Okay, I still don't know what her chest circumference is, but I'm assuming that she's probably like the second size. She's definitely not a big dog. So if she is the second size, it's saying 220 meters. It's DK, but it can be a little off gauge. That's fine. Is this 220? It's 200, so yeah. I might be able to get away with literally just this, in which case I'll still have leftovers of both of these. I hate having leftovers, but I also hate playing yarn chicken, so I'll have to think what I could do with like maybe a small color work project, because these will probably be leftovers. But anyway, those are the projects that I have left. I've put the dog sweater last on that list because she is a dog, so I don't think she'll be mad if it's not ready on Christmas. But I do want to get to it, and I still think that this is all pretty reasonable. Okay, quick update for you. Excuse the wet hair. It is a Sunday. I just finished the blanket. So I am about to go and block it, and I thought that this would make a really good like before and after, because it is lace, it clearly needs blocking, but I'm really interested to see how it's going to grow, because it is an acrylic wool blend, so I'm not expecting it to like expand as much as like pure wool would. But yeah, here's your before. And I'm gonna take the dimensions too so that I can get before and after dimensions, because I like to kind of take note of that for future projects. So I'll update you on the blocking, but one more little note. I had an idea, because last time I talked to you, I was talking about how I thought I would have extras of that yarn. And if that's the case, and I do have extras of both of these colors after finishing the 2 blankets, then what if I could do some kind of color work project for my brother's gift using these 2, because it would literally be using the leftover colors from the blankets for his 2 kids. So that would be really cute, so that he could kind of match them. So I'm thinking about that, but it does mean that I have to go back to the drawing board for a pattern on that. So I'll keep you updated. Okay, this is a real quick update. Things have been crazy here. My nephew was born last night, and this is done blocking. So this is going to its new home today. I'll try to get a good view for you guys. It really grew nicely with blocking. These kind of wavy zigzag lines weren't really visible before. They look really nice. It's really nice and soft. Yeah, I'm super happy with it. And it's going to its new home today, which is so exciting. It did end up growing about maybe 3 inches in either direction with blocking. So it's about like 30 by 30 inches now, which is, I think, perfect. Oh, and as expected, my niece saw that thing and immediately wanted one for herself. So I was right to buy yarn for her. This will be a cast on pretty soon. So the one that I've made the most progress on, in fact, I'm almost done, is the mittens for my mom. As a reminder, these were the Pingo mittens from this book here, Arctic Knits. And these have been a really great quick knit, just like super, super quick. I would say I haven't been knitting a ton because, like I said, things have been crazy here. But even with that, these have been like maybe 2 days each, which has been, for me, very quick. Things I really like about this pattern. The ribbing on the cuff is 2x1, and I think that just looks really nice if I put this on and give you a look. Like, it doesn't look stretched out at all when you put it on, which is super nice. Now, I did have a couple of difficulties with this pattern, and as I go through this, keep in mind, this is my first pair of mittens, so I'm not necessarily saying that this is an issue with the pattern. I still love this book and this designer. I just, maybe as a first pair of mittens, this didn't have quite enough information in it to get me through. So the first issue I had, as you can see from this one, I'm not quite done this one yet. I just bound off the top of the mitten, whatever you would call this, and it's still got the waist yarn in there so that I can go in and do the afterthought thumb. Now, the first thing that I kind of had an issue with in the pattern is that there wasn't a ton of information about like how long to make the mitt. It basically gave you a value in, it said like go a certain number of centimeters from the cast on edge to where the thumb should be. And I actually went more than that. And I still find with this one that's done, I just haven't woven in the ends. I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but it's pretty short. Like, I wish that thumb was higher up, and I went longer than I should have. And when I went and looked at the pictures a little bit more closely, it looked like people on Ravelry who have made this ended up with the thumb in the same place as me. But when I look at the sample pictures in the book really closely, it looks like their thumb is placed like right at the top of this colorwork motif, which to me seems like it would be more reasonable. So again, I think that if this hadn't been my first mitten, that's probably just something I would have known. I would have known that my preference was to have a cuff a bit longer. But yeah, that was the first thing. And then kind of similar with the length of the hand, I think the instructions it gave were like to knit like a certain number of centimeters past the length of your fingers or something. And this I can show you on the one that's not done yet, but that's a very hard value to know when you haven't done the thumb yet. So when you're putting it on, it's like this. So it's like not quite fitting properly yet, so you don't really know where your fingers are going to be in the end. So again, if this hadn't been my first mitten, I don't think that would have been an issue at all. I just could have taken the mitten, put it next to a mitten I already have, compared the two, done. But since this was my first one, I struggled. But I do think it's a beautiful pattern. Really happy with the colorwork motif. It was super easy, super memorizable. And I love the kind of mismatched pair. I think it looks great. And the yarn has been fantastic. So little note on the yarn. I did end up changing my mind on the white color here. That West Yorkshire spinners that I showed you earlier ended up being like too white. So I ended up taking some scraps from some old socks that I have, which is Sandnes Garden Sisu in the color limestone. And I held that with the Filcolana Tilia that I showed you earlier. And then the brown is the leftovers knitting for Olive from the baby bear balaclavas I was talking about. Oh, also, so I bought 2 balls of mohair for those baby bear balaclavas. I still have not started the second one. So even in my effort to use up scraps here, barely anything on the mohair. So yeah, I'll have to think of something else to do with this mohair, but that's okay. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, and I swear I've been working on this. You can tell I'm starting to get a little bit worried. This is the sock for my dad. Again, I swear I've been working on it, but this honestly looks the same to me as the last time I showed you. I guess my main takeaway on this is just that men's feet, very, very big. I think I'm just about ready to start the heel now. I think it was saying to go to like nearly 20 centimeters or something, and I'm just about there. So, oh my goodness, this one's been taking a while, but I think we're getting somewhere. And I'm excited to start the heel because I've never done a fleegle heel before, which is what this is. And finally, I think this is definitely the one that I have made the least progress on, I suppose. But I think I'm maybe the happiest with this one. This is the kitten catch mittens. I've got almost a whole snowflake motif there now. I've also, I think, almost finished the increases on, this is the back side of the hand, so like the palm. And I've almost finished the increases for the thumb gusset. And I'll show you what it looks like on, because the fit on this so far is just fantastic. And again, this was my first mitten, so not something I would have known before doing this, but the thumb gusset is making a huge difference. So with the kitten catch mittens, very easy to follow the pattern. The Latvian braids were actually a little bit fiddly, but I do think worth it. This was also my first time doing corrugated ribbing, and so I've never experienced it before, but not very stretchy, but it does look great, and I'm happy with it. And the color work chart, the back at this point, or the palm of the hand, super memorizable. I'm able to like read my knitting and do the next row based on that now. Same thing with the thumb gusset. I guess this is the back of the hand. This is the side that will have kittens on it, but I haven't made it to the first kitten. This side for me has not been memorizable at all. I've been reading my chart like constantly for this side. But it has been really enjoyable, and I think it's looking really pretty. I'm very glad that I ended up going with the high contrast yarn. And yeah, I'm excited to keep working on this one.